We're back with Season 7, Episode 22, Once Upon a Zeppelin. This is the episode in which Twilight Sparkle goes on a special airship cruise, cloud cruise, with her family in order to spend some time just away with her family. But lo, it was always a trap! And then they have to follow this computer and it tells them how to kill people. It's all sorts of weird stuff. Alright, so, first of all, let me go ahead and say that I like this episode way more than I thought I was going to. I just want to front load that, okay? Let's go through this sequentially. Am I the only one who thinks the idea of fried gems sounds terrible? And keep in mind, I would totally eat gems if I could. Like, I've always had a thing for gems because I'm secretly a dragon. But the idea, and I've talked about this before, you know, like they've got the gem cupcake, and I've always wondered what gems taste like, you know. But deep fried gems, that feels like that would ruin the flavor, right? That'd be like deep frying a cupcake, for example. Which, yes, I know that's a thing. I mean, there's deep fried ice cream, for God's sake. We had to invent a special technique to keep the ice cream intact for the deep frying. It's just But yeah. S.A. Ross got there before me. I knew you would. But I have it on my notes right here. That was legitimately heartwarming. Spike insists that Twilight needs a vacation and she needs time to just be herself. And Twilight insists Spike is a part of her family and deserves to be on the vacation with her. That's actually really heartwarming and awesome. And that's part of why I like this episode. For all of the things it does, and there's several interesting concepts and facts here, this is a feels-good episode, is what I like to call this. And as weird as this may sound for My Little Pony, there's not a lot of feel-goods episodes in this show. This is definitely one of them, though. This is just... You know, this is just... Oh, hey, hang on here. Let me give it... Come here, Blue. Come here. Yeah, it's one of those episodes, right? There, you get to stay here for now, Blue. Just stay with me. Actually, you know what, Blue? Let's do this. There we go. So, yep. So, they go to the vacation thing. Twilight's mother likes to do daring activities. You know, she's a thrill seeker, which actually makes perfect sense and kind of lines up neatly with that, and that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, new actress. I believe Tara Strong herself actually voiced her the last time she showed up. But they got a separate actress this time. There we go. Let me ask you something. How many of you... So, okay, let me walk that back for a second. Most people who go on vacations tend to prefer one of two types of vacations. Now, this is broad categories. Some people like to... Let me use a specific example. Some people like to lounge on the beach in a lawn chair with a nice drink and just chill for a few hours, listen to the waves, soak in the sun, you know, and just relax. Or some people like to have a program, exactly. You see where I'm going with this idea. I'm absolutely the program person. In fact, I should probably mention that at this point in my life, I am so known for that most of my friends and family just sort of automatically assume I'm going to do that and just let me do it. I have a bit of a rep. I'm starting to think maybe I am more Twilight than Rarity. I don't know. Starting to wonder a little bit. But I'm absolutely the program. Let me give you a more modern example, because the last time I took a vacation was... Oh my gosh. 17 years ago? Something like that. No, it's 19. It's the other way. It's been 19 years since I've taken a vacation. I can name the vacation. I went to Disneyland. Anyways... Oh my god, Ross. Someone kill Ross for me really quick, please. Just brutally, horrifically kill Ross. But I have a modern example of this. Video games. Now, this may sound like a weird thing to comment on, but how many of you have ever played, let me use the obvious example, World of Warcraft? I obviously have. Now, for let me explain this for those of you who haven't, or even those of you who haven't don't really think about this. So let's say you're in a zone. Let's pick Grizzly Hills, because I know Grizzly Hills right off the top of my head. So you're in the Grizzly Hills, and you have entered from the Howling Fjords. So you've got a go-to quest right here. Once you get to this first town, you have 4 separate quests that pop up. Yes, I know WoW well enough to do this. Just don't make fun of me, please. Okay, fine, you can make fun of me. But you get 4 quests in that first town. One goes up here, one goes over here, one goes down here, that's a one-off, and one's over here, and that's a chain. You with me so far? So how do you do those, and in what order? You can just roam in WoW. That's totally feasible and viable, but you will waste a lot of time going from point A to point B. I optimize those routes. I am efficient, is what my friends and family actually call it. I'm the efficiency guy. So when I'm questing with someone in a game, they follow me. Because I've already mapped out where we're going and what we should do in what order. This actually came up recently in a non-MMO format. How many of you have ever played Dying Light? It's a first-person parkour game. It's actually surprisingly fun. Terrible, terrible story, but it is still fun. Anyways, I'm the guy who, was like, okay, we need to do... I'll look at the map. Everyone else in the group is just chatting and talking and doing whatever. And I'm the one who pulls the map up and says, okay, we're going to do this, this, in this order. Because that's the efficiency route. And everyone else just follows along because I'm the efficiency guy, because I have that rep at this point. And it just, I know that's a weird thing to point out, but it just clicked with me recently how much of a thing that is for me. That I don't even have to explain it or clarify it. People just know, oh yeah, let's just go follow lore. Because he knows what he's doing, and he's already mapped this out. And yeah, you can see why I'm bringing this up, because Twilight brings out the schedule. Okay, we're doing this here, and we're doing this here, and we're doing this here, and we're doing this here. And she points out activities that she knows her family members are going to like, and when they're going to happen, and yada, yada, yada. That is absolutely me. So I'm totally with Twilight on that. Another example of this, Gen Con. We haven't been to Gen Con in 5 years, I think. But, oh, I know, right, Trathan? That was a nice little detail. There's a lot of details. I'm not going to list all of them. There's so many good details in this episode. But you ever go to Gen Con? Because Gen Con is absolutely you want to have a schedule kind of an event to go to. Because a lot of events happen at the same time, and some of them repeat and some of them don't, so which you do where is actually important. Because otherwise you literally won't be able to do certain things, right? So you gotta have a schedule. You gotta have the thing. Look, I'm organized. What do you want from me? And yeah, she gets it from her dad. I love that little tidbit where he's like, oh, I love they're all organized in their boxes. I mean, I like spreadsheets. I'm into it. Do you have any idea how many spreadsheets I have in my job? Anyways. Sorry for geeking out a bit. It's just, I really like the intro bit. It's a good example, as weird as this may sound, of showing, not telling. We don't need to be shown it. We know Twilight. We know she's organized. That goes back to Season 1. But this is a good example of how to continue to have a characterization be shown without bothering to sit down and say, well, you know, Twilight, I know you're really organized about things, so I'm sure you're going to have a big schedule all laid out for us. And Twilight say, of course, I have this whole schedule properly mapped. No, instead they just have the thing where she pulls out the frickin' thing and she points in, blah, 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 right? It's good storytelling, put bluntly. Yeah, then... Yeah, Spike even makes fun of it at the start. You're absolutely right, Raskor. There's a couple of little tidbits of obvious foreshadowing. We've got the cruise goers who are like, it's her, it's Twilight. The extremely obvious Iron Will announcer. I find myself wondering how many people, when this show was going live, immediately recognized his voice. Now, I did, but I also watched this show in a lot more truncated format because I was binging, basically. And I also have a really, really good audio memory, so I tend to remember stuff like that when it comes to television. But yeah, Iron Will has a very distinct voice, speech, and pattern. It's obvious, right? This then leads to something amusing. The dad says, we want a prize, but we don't know what from. And the mother says, when someone offers you a free vacation, you just sign the paperwork and don't ask questions. No! Don't ever do that in real life. Don't ever do that in real life. Now, the good news is nowadays, at least here in the States, there are actually legal protections to defend against that kind of a thing. One of the common myths in legalese amongst the United States and specific High-Tequek is that if it's in a disclaimer, if they make you sign a thing, that's legally enforceable. That's actually not true. Even if you... Let's use a made-up example. Let's say Mr. Red makes me sign a contract that says that I will willingly enslave myself to him under these circumstances, right? So if he tries to enforce that, he actually can't, even though I signed that. Even though I am legally bound to that, he can't enforce that because that violates the law. This is actually something that's been well established many times with regards to legal precedent here in the States, so that's pretty codified at this point. So no. Anyways, the next thing, though, and I want to point this out, there's no such thing as a free lunch, that's absolutely true. I didn't hear that phrase until I was much older, but when I was younger, I used to say that nothing's free. There's no such thing as free, is actually what I called it. Because even if you don't pay for it, someone is. That was the logic. It was one of the first lessons I ever learned about economics. I was like 6 at the time. Someone, somewhere, is paying for that somehow, right? And that's true. That's as Sierra Mike rightly points out, this is a law of reality. So what is the cost for this prize? Well, there is a cost, and we do see it over the course of the episode. So the breathing is free. No. You still have to expend the effort, time, and energy in order to breathe, and it is possible for you to not breathe. Yeah, it costs energy, literally. There is no such thing as free. Someone, somewhere, somehow is paying for what you're doing. This is one of the reasons, I don't want to get into this because this gets polemic for some reason. This is one of the reasons I always get irritated by the phrase free healthcare. Because it's not. That's not how that works. Now, don't mistake me, I think the healthcare system in the States needs a massive overhaul. But the phrase, we need free healthcare, is stupid, because that's not how that works. What we need is more organized, better distributed, better structured healthcare. But of course, you can't make a slogan out of that. In Europe, you have free healthcare. No, you don't! Someone's paying for that. In fact, I'm pretty sure you're paying for that, because it goes out of your taxes. But anyways. Point being. It's not free. That's really my whole point. And I don't want to be persnickety about it. It's just, I feel like some people use the word free a little bit wrongly. And I think that's actually one of the... since we're already on this topic, I think one of the biggest reasons why people who are stupid, I'm going to go ahead and say that, are so against government-structured or healthcare in the United States is because they don't understand it. They don't understand it because it's always used as the word free. You know, oh my God, all those people are not going to be making money and all that money's going to be burnt on that. It's like, no. It's not free healthcare. It's designed healthcare. Anyways. Again, I don't want to get off on that topic too much. Let's get back to the episode at hand. There's no such thing as free. Yeah, it is a huge topic. It is actually a very complex, very in-depth topic. In fact, if I might be so bold, I actually wouldn't mind the healthcare system we have in the United States if it wasn't so expensive, artificially. Because, as I can tell you from personal experience and family experience, they charge too much for everything, at every level. If you had to go into the hospital and pay for your own bill and it was $500, that's not the end of the world. But it's not. It's $20,000. See the problem? Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I mean, I literally know someone who personally, who was a friend of mine, who died just a few months ago because she couldn't get the healthcare she needed because it cost too much. So, back to Celebrity Vacation. So, let's tie this off with a joke. How many of you played Luigi's Mansion? Because this is the plot of Luigi's Mansion. Hey, Luigi, you've won a mansion in a contest that you never entered. Red flag. Just red flag. You know? Anyways. Whatever. So they organize. And Twilight mentions there's one thing she wants to do, so you know where that's going immediately. Twilight's dad's the organized one. I already talked about that. Cadence is... This is our second of, I think, like 5 feel-good moments in this episode. Oh my god, Sierra Mike. You would take them they would be crushed. They would have no defense against the Nigerian prince scam. Someone mentioned it earlier that this is Equestria, so it's okay. Allow me to jump ahead in my notes. This is a very well done, varied, interesting cruise that these people are being offered for relatively low cost, all things considered. Now, I'm not saying what Iron Will does is acceptable, because he does manipulate and deceive people into this whole situation. But I say this to once again emphasize how much better Equestria is than real life. If this exact same setup happened in a realistic real-life scenario, this would be horrible. This could literally be a horror movie or a horror episode if this was happening in real life. Oh yeah, you can come on the cruise for free if ... fill in the blanks. There's plenty of things you can fill in that, and they're all terrible. Instead, it's just the fact that, they want... Yeah, the pilot jump ship. Yeah, the pilot jump ship. It's just the fact that they wanted to spend time with Princess Twilight, and she was the celebrity catch in order to make him make the money. And that's it. I'm only pointing this out because people wonder why I call Equestria a idyllic society, stuff like this is why. Moving on. So Cadence is heartwarming. Listen, I know you're not airsick, but Flurry's feeling a little bit bad, so maybe you should go pull it. That caught me. She doesn't even lampshade it. She's just nice. She's just like, here, I got you back. I got you back. Here, go below deck. Take the time you need. So Twilight, right? So this is when Iron Will comes on the thing. This is where Twilight once took a tour. Okay, and this is the royal tree where Twilight and brother were born. Do you think he was deliberately messing the facts up? Just making stuff up, in other words? Or do you think he did his research incredibly badly? Oh, I know, Sierra Mike. Good lord. Of course, if real life was Equestria, I'd be in charge by now. Actually, that's not true. If real life was Equestria, I wouldn't have to be in charge, which is my actual preference. Yeah, I think he made it up, but it is possible that he just did his research terribly. I'm not sure. I'm really not. And there's no evidence really one way or the other. It's just interesting to think about. Either way, he then says, now we're approaching the Crystal Empire, where Princess Cadence rescued her alicorn baby Spike from a monster made of fire. I mean, there's a couple of details there that are correct. I have to nitpick this. I have to. Because one of my biggest pet peeves in television in general is when they get the geography wrong. I actually complain about this a lot over in Star Trek, where they will cross, hundreds of light years in the space of an episode. Like, I've talked before, if some of you have probably watched my TNG Ruminations, you can map where they're at per episode, and they do this, right? It's just all over the place, because they didn't care. Because the writers didn't care about any kind of geographic continuity. It's I call that visual continuity. In fact, it's something I give pluses to games when they do it right, and negatives when they do it very wrong. So yeah, the fact that I actually counted, it's 1 minute 3 seconds between going from Cloudsdale to the Crystal Empire. And they could literally spot, it's actually much smaller time, they could literally spot a Canterlot tree and the Crystal Empire within the space of 33 seconds. Now, Imperial Star Destroyer says he says the cruise will take him over the Crystal Empire, not that they were there yet. Except if you look in the background, you can clearly see the Crystal Empire there, which is what actually caught my attention on that. So they can physically see the tree in Canterlot and the Crystal Empire in the space of 33 seconds. Again, I hate to nitpick, but huh? It's also possible the Crystal Empire really is that close. I don't buy that, personally. Yeah, the ship was just moving at the speed of plot. That is basically what this is. They're so far up. Atmospheric conditions are not a consideration, apparently. Considering they control the wind, that actually wouldn't surprise me. Whatever. I just wanted to point it out. So Twilight's a celebrity. Not for the first time, but she's a celebrity, so that's cool. I'm actually kind of with that, because she should be. Ignoring the fact that she's a princess of like, what, 4 princesses? There's also the fact that she's Twilight and has literally saved the world several times. So, you know, you'd kind of figure. So, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And this is also something that I find myself wondering about. Do you... yeah, no, sorry. We're a few seasons out at this point. Do you think that this is how people are in general? Or is it possible that these are just the hyper fans, or the fans, for that matter? We've already talked before about the distinction between fans, hyper fans, and mega fans. I don't want to go down that again. The point being, maybe these are the exception. Maybe these are the ponies who specifically are fans of one degree or another, who wanted to be a part of this because it was the Princess Tour. That actually makes a degree of sense to me, as weird as that may sound. And it would also... oh yeah, I guess there is Flurry. I forgot about Flurry. What's she the princess of? Being cute? That would be funny if that's actually a thing. And this would also explain why Twilight being a celebrity isn't really a big deal outside of the episodes where it comes up. Because she is a celebrity, but only the people who are really a fan of her are, you know, the ones causing these issues. So it's a smaller percentage, right? I don't know. Just food for thought. So this is when they... this is when they specifically bring up the fine print. I've already talked about the disclaimer thing. I don't really have anything else to add to that. So, Twilight bites the bullet. Also, nice little tidbit. Twilight acknowledges that these people matter. They came here wanting a tour with a princess, so she wants them to have a good time, just like she wants her family to have a good time. Nice little tidbit. I like that. And it's something this episode does that a previous episode I shall not name didn't really do. This episode several times paints the fans in a non-negative light. Just in the way they're showcased. Just in the way that they are presented. And I point that out because that's important to do, and I'll be pointing it out in the future as well. Too often, fiction likes to portray fans as universally negative, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, Star Tracker wins the grand prize of spending a day with Twilight as an honorary member of her family. Okay, cool. This is when the episode gets into territory that's much more difficult to talk about. Now, we've drifted into this topic before, because this has come up before on this show. We've had this with, I don't remember his name, Tenderhoof? The guy who was a fan of Daring Do. I can't remember his name. But we've talked about him before. We've talked about this in the Journal episode that was just a few episodes ago, just 2 weeks ago. Quibble, thank you. This is a surprisingly complex and topic, because, hear me out for a second. Is there someone we'll pick a real life person. Is there a real life person that you would actually be really excited and nervous and scared to be able to spend the day with? I'm actually not going to raise my hand on this one because I don't have anyone like that at this point. There are fictional characters I would totally be like that for, but not real life ones anymore. When I was younger, I could say that about several people, several actors specifically. Yeah, there's a lot of sports people, there's a lot of actors, there's a lot of politicians, there's a few comedians that I know people will be like that. Yeah, meeting John Delancey would be kind of awesome. Granted, I'm approaching 40, so maybe I've just kind of grown out of this point, but I do understand the concept, because again, I used to be like this. I used to be at the mentality of, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, right? I'm sure you understand the concept at the very least. Because the episode does a really good job of portraying Star Tracker as not actually being too much, just not really knowing his own boundaries. He is not a mega fan. He's just a fan who's nervous as hell. And the episode consistently portrays him as awkward and nervous because he doesn't know what to do with himself. Now, I understand that feeling perfectly, because I have been there before. Because I have met celebrities before. I've talked about this. And I've met celebrities when I was very young, and I was, oh god, oh god, oh god, right? And, yeah, Star Tracker recognizes it by the end of the episode, and admits that, you know, I'm sorry, you deserved your time with your family, I apologize, yada, yada, yada. He's portrayed as a more full, fleshed-out character than the archetype or standardization, exaggeration that I was expecting from him. And that's good. Yeah, Monster Kid in Undertale is a great example of Star Tracker. He's obviously fanning over Twilight, and he's obviously super nervous about this, but ultimately it's just because he doesn't know what to do with himself, and he's really excited about meeting someone he obviously idolizes. Right? Now, he does drift over the line a little bit, because he doesn't recognize the personal space thing. But that is effectively the only thing he does that is over the line. He doesn't give her the personal space. He doesn't give her the 6 feet, right? And so he keeps like, and that is over the line, to be clear. But that's also it. That's the only thing he does that drifts over that line. And yeah, Twilight backs off immediately. We'll come back to that topic in a minute, but I do like how they portray Star Tracker in general. Yeah, Twilight also doesn't correct him. We could easily make the argument that he should know better than to not give her personal space. But you are correct, Twilight does not correct him, and she even mentions this later in the episode. Now, I'm glad Bragwin's here, because I mentioned her in my notes here. We go immediately from this one topic of Star Tracker being a complex topic and reasonably well presented to another complex topic. Mops. Anybody ever mop? I obviously, have done a lot of mopping in my life. Recently, even. This would have been 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. It doesn't have to be a mop. A broom works, but a mop is a better example for what I'm trying to explain. Because there's something I learned at a very, very young age. A janitor was, of course, one of the first jobs I ever had. Way, way back. God, I was like 7, I think, when I started being a janitor. A dirty mop can't clean well. And that's one of the earliest things I learned. You need to keep the tools you use to clean, clean. You need to make sure, like, I'll use an example. It's literally on my desk. You see this little Swiffer that I use for dusting? And I keep it right here so I dust regularly. It's a good way to remind myself that I need to dust regularly. If this thing gets too dirty and too filthy, it will not do a good job of swiffing, and so it needs to be replaced, or in this case, or cleaned in the case of something like a mop. Self-care is how that is relevant. You need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. Now, my way of explaining that is stupid and dumb, but it is the first way that I learned that concept. That you need to be able to take care of your mop, otherwise your mop isn't going to take care of that floor. Right? And the episode absolutely nails that topic with Twilight and with several of the related points here. Because she is willing to put up with all this crap in order to take care of them, in order to make sure that they're happy, but she doesn't actually take care of herself at all. And that's the key point. Sacrifice of yourself for others? Sure. There's nothing wrong with cleaning the floor with a mop, after all. But you still need to take care of the mop. And that's what Twilight doesn't do at all. If she had made lines, Cadence actually calls it lines. Straight up. She just says, you need to know where the line is, and you need to know where reasonability is. She doesn't say it that way. But that's what I call it. One of my guiding phrases is the phrase, within reason. I say this all the time. Because just about everything I say applies only within reason. You don't want to... Yeah, exactly. Being a parent helps define that line very clearly. You know exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it for that child, and they do some great showcasing of this with Cadence and Flurry before they even have this topic. And yeah, Cadence absolutely understands what Twilight's going through, and is probably one of the few. Frankly, I would think that Celestia probably understands what Twilight's going through, even though, it's been a while. Yeah, the face she makes when she pulls... Lots of wonderful little details in the Flurry heart scene, by the way. That's just really, really good scene. Yeah, be generous within reason, be selfish within reason. Exactly. Because if you just be generous too much, well, then we have the mop problem. But if you be too selfish too much, well, then we have most of the problems of human society. So, within reason, right? The episode absolutely nails this point, and it does a really good job of doing so. Twilight giving up some of her vacation to help her family and the other people? No problem. But she should have taken care of herself too, because she didn't do it within reason. She did it to the furthest extent. And so Twilight was unhappy, and Twilight was upset, and Twilight didn't get a vacation, and Twilight didn't have a good time. And she should have. Not only does she deserve that, but frankly, any person, relatively speaking, deserves to have a frickin' vacation now and again. Yes, I know how hypocritical this is to say, but it's still true. And yeah, consistently, the episode points out how her brother and her mother and her father and then her mother again and then her sister-in-law, are constantly saying, it's your vacation too. We want to make sure you're having fun too. We want to make sure you're enjoying yourself. I'm looking at my notes here. Sorry, because I'm talking about stuff kind of out of order a little bit here because we keep bouncing around topics. So I need to skip ahead. This is when I talk about the free lunch thing that we've already talked about. This is when I talk about the vacation and the quality and the red flags and how terrible this would be in real life. Then, here we go. So now we skip forward to Twilight finally blows up. And she just... Because, again, she didn't keep it within reason. She didn't push it. She pushed it too far. She rightly pushes out that Star Tracker was standing too close, and that's why she literally stepped on it. So if that probably hurts like hell, by the way. But yeah, she loses the one thing she actually wanted, and it sucks, and she runs off, and there's some incredible animation of her mane flowing in the wind. By the way, can I just gush about that for just a second? It's really fluid. Doing fluid animation like that is much harder than it sounds. I just want to give praise really quick. Anyways. So then Cadence goes and gives the mop talk to Twilight. This is when Cadence actually is like, here, I got this. Let me explain this to you. This is when the episode really nails things, by the way. I mean, the whole episode's been nailing things. By the way, this is probably going to be a red episode, possibly higher. We'll talk about it. The cruise goers are totally cool with this. That's such an awesome thing. Can I just say that? That is such an awesome decision by the writers, or writer. When Twilight says, hey, I just wanted a vacation with my family, the cruise goers are like, well, of course. You're a person. You deserve you deserve this. But we figured that's what we were paying for. Why would the cruise say this if not for the fact that it wasn't this? And that's when Iron Will is revealed to be actually semi-villainous in this episode, unlike his previous iteration. I learned my lesson last time. No refunds. And then he pieces out. And he's got a golden parachute. Ha ha. But, again, once again, Equestria is better than real life. Because they're just cool with it. I mean, there's even a great scene where she apologizes to Sky Tracker and offers for him to keep coming with them. And, he admits that she deserved time by themselves. And she gives him a hug. And he's like, oh, it's a really feel-good, awesome episode in several beats. And then the family gets together and recreates the Northern Stars for Twilight. And that's just the ultimate... Hang on, come back here. That's just the ultimate... kind of a moment, because that was just super adorable and super heartwarming. I always love it when anything, even in real life, shows how much people care about other people. If you remember, one of my favorite moments in this whole show to date was the episode where Rainbow is trying to learn the history of the Wonder Balls. You remember that episode? I don't remember the name of it. But there's this great scene towards the end where the whole town gets together to help Rainbow learn that. And that was just such a heartwarming scene because it demonstrated through action how much they all cared enough to bother. Right? It's the same thing. They all get together. Even Shining Armor, who is not feeling great, they all get together and they're all like, we got you. We got you, Blue. I mean, Twilight. Your new name is Twilight. Okay, your name is Blue. You're back to being blue. Twilight Blue? Blue Twilight. Ooh. And then the Northern Star crosses over again as they're flying back to Camelot. This is a really good episode. I can only think of one Princess of Love, Dream Whisperer, specifically. I actually talked about that extensively when we were discussing how her love ability works. This is a really good episode. I only have one minor nitpick with it, and that's the geography thing I mentioned earlier. It's heartwarming. It ties in a lot of things. It's great characterization for several characters. It's a showcasing of how Equestria is awesome. I need to give several continuity counters for all this nonsense. I wasn't doing it yet because there's so many. Let's see. So we've got... Oh, God. Where do I even begin? Iron Will comes in. The nature of Cadence and the family stuff, which is built up. And probably the parents. And that actually counts, I would say. I think we could stop there, but that's at least 4 continuity counters that this episode's getting. Oh, yep. Flurry Heart and the nature how she... I'll give that one too, so... Let's just do that. Just cavalcade of continuity in this episode. And yeah, we've got to rate this episode, because this is a surprisingly really good episode. The facial and the animation was great. The messages, right? No such thing as a free lunch. You know, there's no such thing as free is a message in this episode. Taking care of yourself, you know, and not going too far with taking care of others, which is an incredibly important lesson. Bragwin. Even I need to learn that lesson every now and again. I do take care of myself. I do. Just, you know. 2 really good lessons. Plus continuity, plus really tying in a lot of excellent elements, plus heartwarming things, plus excellent characterization for the main characters, plus good characterization for the secondary characters. Like, Twilight's dad and mother and Skytracker are all surprisingly well characterized here. And again, it once again shows how Equestria is just better than real life. I'm kind of leaning towards purple. I think that the feel-good moments and the well-structured, well-characterized nature of it pushes that extra oomph that purple requires. Now, I'm willing to be talked down from this, but I want your thoughts on that idea. Because as always, we come up with the ratings, not me. Let's have a look at my notes here really quick. Apparently, Mr. Red just submitted something. Yeah, even the background characters were surprisingly well done. And I think what I love most about this episode, if I had to pick one specific thing, it's the nuance. I love nuance in fiction. I do. It's one of the reasons why exaggeration, which is the opposite of nuance, tends to irritate me so much. Because I love when they show something that is a fleshed out concept. And they do that almost constantly the whole episode. You know? And this is a one-off. Yeah, this is by Brittany Jo Flores, who I've never heard of. And this is their first episode. I think it's a she. This is her first episode for this show. And she just nails this. Just knocks it out of the park. She apparently writes an episode in season 9. So there's going to be 2 episodes by this person. I mean, this happens periodically. One of the things I learned, especially when going through the TOS episodes for the Star Trek Ruminations, is that every now and again someone would come in just to write an amazing episode, and then they'd leave and they'd never come back, right? That actually happens semi-frequently. Why can't you give it, Darth Medora? As always, I want to know why, your reasoning, your perspective, your mentality. And if you don't, well, then I'm going to have to Swiffer you. This isn't very intimidating. I'll have to back scratch. This doesn't work either. I don't have, my weapon's over here. There's my weapon right there. I wouldn't be surprised by that, Aceros. Really. It feels like some of these episodes by these one-offs are by people who are just fans. And statistically speaking, that happens with quite a few shows. You know, a show goes on for a long period of time, and the core writing staff, the writing team, they don't, they start to run out of ideas. They start to run dry. So they start buying ideas, and the show has been around long enough that the people submitting ideas are fans of the show. In fact, several big-name writers actually got their start in Trek by virtue of that, around Season 3. This is how Ronald D. Moore and how Brandon Braga both got into TNG, for example. All eyes turn to Darth Medora. But I'm shaky. I need to eat lunch. I didn't have much breakfast because I woke up so late. Don't worry, I'll eat something. I'm not sure what. I'll have to cook something. That's gonna be like an hour. That's gonna suck. Whatever. Ah, it's forgettable. That's valid. I will freely admit to basically agree with you. I mostly didn't remember this episode until I rewatched it. It was only rewatching it with analysis mode on that I realized how excellent of an episode it is. I think I am going to give it purple. I'm sorry. I think this deserves the label. This is a really good, feels good, nuanced, well-written, continuity-laden episode. And if you want to know, like, if I had to point a specific extra oomph, it is that self-care thing, which is such an important lesson that everyone needs to learn, regardless of age. That's a good question, S.A. Ross. Let me check here. This might be... Nope, we've had 2 purples so far. So this is our 3rd purple in Season 7. Double checking, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Yep. The previous 2 purples were A Royal Problem and The Perfect Pair. And yeah, I stand by that. So it's 3 purples this episode. Or this season. This episode's so good, I had to purple it 3 times. Yeah, if Twilight could have had the idiot ball, they could have exaggerated the fans to make them one-dimensional. They could have made Sky Tracker just obnoxious. They could have completely gutted the Aesop by... There's so many things they could have done to screw up this episode, and they didn't do any of it. They could... Iron Will! You may call Iron Will Iron Will. Except now he's not. He's Iron Dumb. Or something, I don't know. Good episode. Great episode. Next week... We're almost to Shadowplay. We're getting there. This week is the movie, isn't it? Is that when that's going live? I'm pretty sure. August 20th sounds right. Yep, okay. So, this Friday, from live perspective, the rumination on the movie will go live. Which is... yeah. Well, you'll get to hear me talk about marauding empires and the political nature thereof. But next week, we will be covering Secrets and Pies, which I barely remember, and Uncommon Bond, which was a good one. I remember that one. And then 2 weeks from now, Shadowplay. Yeah. That'll be interesting to talk about. For now, I'm going to go get some food and work on the theater. See you around.